Greetings, OATK12 campers. My name is Jane Montero, and I am so happy to be here with you today as we take a dive into the pool and make a splash with Google Draw. I want to thank Dr. Harlow and Bob Reeker for inviting me to be one of your keynote speakers today. What I'm looking forward to sharing with you are lessons that I've created over the past year. And like all of you, I'm sure, I've gone from virtual to hybrid to everybody in, back to virtual, back to hybrid, and we ended the year with everybody in the room. So over the course of this past year, I looked at my curriculum and I thought, what can I do to turn these lessons into digital design, since my students had Chromebooks at home? And when they came back in the classroom, they brought their Chromebooks in there too. So I'm going to go over with you lessons that range in complexity from kind of the beginning stages to intermediate to things that are a bit more complex. And I hope you'll join me, and I'm going to give you time to experiment on your own as we just dive right in and let's make a splash. So here we go. Before we actually start creating using our laptops or whatever device you plan to use, just a little bit about why it's important to create digital art. Actually, with the influx of technology, with changes to curriculum and standards that call for the technology component, this was a perfect time, and virtual teaching was the perfect environment in which we could try these lessons. So having taught for as long as I have, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to give it a go. And I think that the results and the student engagement will speak for themselves. So I look at this like the elements of art and principles of design, and I refer to this beginning section as Google Draw 1.0. It's the basics. It's the use of the line tool, different line weights, and the shape tool, and different colors. And it's really all about combining those to create some basic compositions. And then we move on to what I refer to as Google Draw 2.0. This is the intermediate range, and this is where we talk about space and texture. Students learn how to group items, copying, overlapping, and really pulling things together to make a more complex composition. Google Draw 3.0 is the advanced project area, and this includes a lot of talking about form and value, the transparency, and again, the line tools, but we're really thinking more in layers of how we're combining our shapes. And then Google Draw 4.0 is really the future, and it's highly complex. And this is where students put together all of the different elements and the different Google Draw tools that they've learned to use. So we're talking about major projects that include all of these tools together. So now that we've had a brief overview of all of the different levels of Google Draw, we're going to start with the basics. So this includes the line and shape compositions, learning about the fill bucket and border tool, the polyline, the curve line, the scribble tool. Projects include Jacob Hashimoto hexagons, Notan designs, and pop art, with a really beginning experimentation on shapes and color, like you see on the bottom left. Okay, so before we get started with any of the specific projects, this is really one that I use to just kind of give everybody an understanding of what the tools are, what you can use them for, and really the differences with using the fill bucket and the border and all of that. So to get to one of these, we're going to go to File. We're under Google Draw, and we're going to go to New, and we're going to click Drawing. If you are unfamiliar with how to get to a Google Drawing template, you need to go to Google Drive. And if you do not have Google Drive on your computer, you can actually search for Google Draw. So I'm going to show you another way to get there. If you open up your drive and you go to New, and you go down below where it says More, and another menu is going to pop open, and you would click Google Drawings. Okay. A third way to go is to go to your toolbar and to do a search where you search Google Draw, and you will get this. And you click that link and it will do the same thing. So those are three basic ways to get to Google Draw. So once you are there, you'll have this checkerboard screen. And what I like to tell students to do at the very, very beginning is to click the box to save it. Otherwise, they end up with 4 million assignments that all say untitled drawing. And as you know, it's almost like having a project without your name on it. So let's click that box. It's going to highlight it blue, and you can give it whatever title you want. And I'm going to call it Practice 1. So one of the beauties of Google Draw, like the other Google Docs and slides, is that it auto-saves. And so students aren't going to lose their work. If their computer crashes, that's another situation, but as long as it's going and auto-saving, you're good. So I'm going to pretend that you don't know anything about Google Draw for a moment. And if you look underneath, it says File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Arrange, Tools, and Help. All right, so we're going to go right underneath the words Format and Arrange to the Shape tool. And the very first thing I show students is how to get perfect shapes like a perfect circle and then not. So when you click that, another menu is going to drop down. Let's start with shapes, and you have all these choices. And sometimes I limit these choices. I don't want students using the smiley face or the heart or whatever. Otherwise, we will use the hexagon or the whatever, triangles for things. So let's click the circle one, for example. It's going to say oval. Here's what I show them. If you say, I'm going to draw a circle, you may get one, you may get an oval. Okay. But to get a good circle, what would be considered a perfect circle, you need to take your finger of the hand you're not writing with and drawing with and using, set it on the Shift key, hold it down while you draw with either your mouse or your touchpad. And those are really the two differences. So with these two shapes, a couple things you want to know. The default color is always light blue. So if you don't want light blue, you look for the paint bucket right up here where my cursor is spinning around. Click the paint bucket, pick whatever color you want. Okay, and whatever that color is, boom. Then you go right next to that for the border color. Most of the time, I have students make that transparent. So when you click it, you have a choice for transparent. Okay. I'll show you what to do if you want a border on this oval right next to us. Click the oval, go to the paint bucket. Let's say you want a color that you don't particularly see on there. Go to custom. And all these other choices are going to open up, and this is just a sliding scale, and you can bring this around. You can play around with it here, whatever you want to do. When you find one you like, click OK. This time, let's go to the border color. Let's make it a color that will show up. I'm going to click red. And right next to the border color is the border weight. So you can click that, and you can make this much, much wider. Okay. So it all depends on what you want to do with your design. Okay. So those are the first two functions that I like to show students. From there, I show them how you can then go to the line tool, which is right next to the shape box, and click that little down arrow. And we're going to focus on these bottom three, the curve line, the polyline, and the scribble. So the curve line, for example, click that, and you're going to have a plus sign that shows up. Every time you click that plus sign, you can change the angle. You can go back over, and back to the beginning. You just have to get back to the beginning. Okay, then come over here to the paint bucket, pick a color that you want. You can get rid of the border or you can keep the border. In order to get back to the ability to move that shape, go right next to it where it says select, and that will highlight the shape, and there you go. Okay, now let's go back to the line tool, and let's do the same thing with the polyline tool. So polyline tool is jaggedy. Every time you click, you get a jagged point. Again, you can go back and forth, get back to where you were. Go to the paint bucket, pick a color, go to the border and make it transparent. Okay, we're going to do one more on our practice here. This is the scribble tool, and this is one of my favorite tools also, because I always say, yep, Mrs. Montero is saying it's okay to scribble. Let's give it a go. Click scribble. This is easier to do with the mouse than on a touchpad if you have a Google Chromebook. But I'm just using my mouse right now. So wherever the plus sign is, that's going to allow you to make a scribble line. And I just kind of go around and around and end whenever I want to end. Okay. You can now go over here. You can change the color, make it any color you want. You can change the weight, make it any weight you want. And I'm adding on to the new part here. Go to the line dash and you can make it a dot. You can make it a dash. You can make it a dash and a dot. You can make it a longer dash and so on. Okay. Experiment with that color, whatever color you want. So those are the basic elements. And what I have students do with these is I have them construct just for practicing, have things overlap, make shapes. I can take the shape. If you drag a corner of the blue box, that will change the size. So if I come to here, I can grab that corner. And again, you can do the same with the ovals. You can take this little circle. Anytime you see the circle, that's going to allow you to turn the shape. Okay. So that is how you do that. So at this point, I'd like to give you a few minutes to just experiment with this, and then we'll move on. So give yourself 2 or 3 minutes and just see what you can do. You're not trying to make anything perfect. You can experiment with some of the different shapes. Here's a triangle. So again, just see what happens with your colors. I like to try a lot of different colors when I'm practicing, because then you'll go, oh, I want to use that color again. And you'll be able to remember what you did. Okay. You can have borders as white because I'm going to show you how to add a background around this. So again, 2 more minutes of practicing time. And while you're practicing, I'm going to practice too. And this is really where a lot of the discovery comes in. And students figure out some super cool things to do. So while you're practicing, I will tell you the one that seems to take the most practice is the scribble line, just because I don't think it's necessarily intuitive to draw a line that looks that great, especially if you are not using a mouse. And let's go with 1 more minute and see if there's any other shapes. You can experiment with some of these in the lower level as well. Some of them are similar to the ones that are also up above. And just to note, sometimes I tell students shapes that they cannot use. Okay, call outs are a lot of fun, by the way, though. Call outs are these types of things, like speech bubbles. And those turn out very, very cool. So I'm going to go here. All right, so let's say that you have a good opportunity, you've experimented a little bit. I'm going to show you one more thing. Click one of your shapes. For example, this orange shape. Let's say I want that shape in front of other shapes. I can come over here and I can click Arrange, which is right up here above the Shape tool, and Order and Bring to Front. But when I do that, notice what it covers up. It covers up my lines and everything. So I may want to undo that. You can always undo your last step by going all the way over to the left, and you can click the Undo. Right? Sigh of relief. So let's say I just want to do this with them with the red shape. I'm going to click Arrange, Order, Send it back. So that is kind of how you can start to get some cool underneath effects here and just experiment. How does it look? I do the same thing when we're doing things with construction paper. What should be in the front? What should be in the back? Okay. All right, so let's say we're done with this practice one. You're going to come up here. The last step is take the shape tool, take the rectangle tool, and you are going to draw over this whole thing, and it is going to default to blue. Okay, have no fear. Come over here, pick any color you want. I'm just going to try white. I'm going to get rid of the border, transparent. Then I'm going to go to Arrange, Order, Send it back. Now I have a composition. It's really as easy as that. Okay. So again, just to review what I did on that last part, I'm going to remove this out of the way. What I did was I used in the shape tool, the first shape option is the rectangle. You'll have a plus sign that shows up. Drag across your whole thing. If you can't make it all the way across and you stop midway, you can still pull the corners to make it fit. Come up to the paint bucket, turn it white. I get rid of the border color, transparent. Arrange, Order, Send it back. Okay. Now, depending on how you want students to submit their artwork, for us, we were using Canvas this year. So all you need to do is go to File, go all the way down to Download. And I tell students either a JPEG or a PNG. And I explain to them that a PNG is not going to have a background. I've put white on this, so the white will still be a background. If you do it as a JPEG, it will just default to a white background. So I'm going to come over here, download JPEG, and then from there, it will download onto their computer. And then they will have a project based on really the beginning. So I hope that helped you. Now we're going to move on. All right, moving on from the basic composition using shapes and line tools, I wanted to share with you Jacob Hashimoto's work. And Jacob Hashimoto is an artist who was born in Greeley, Colorado. And this is a project where students demonstrate the ability to use, again, the shape tool, but also we're going to be adding overlapping, a little bit of grouping, a little bit of transparency, and some recoloring. So the information that I share with them is based on this PowerPoint that I put together. This is from his website, and I've added that website down at the bottom. So you could share this information with students. And what I like to tell them is that traditionally, he creates these sort of kite shapes using bamboo rods and using very common Japanese paper. So when I was doing this traditionally, I would have students use tracing paper in the art room. But turning this into a Google Draw was super fun. So I go through these and we talk about the shapes. You'll have a copy to this presentation in the information at the end. We talk about overlapping. We talk about patterns. Repetition is a huge one here. And these are some of his. And the idea is that the transparency allows you to get a feeling of lightness, airiness. These are some more of his. And we talk about identifying the hexagon shape. And if you look closely at the red area, for example, you'll see a lot of hexagons. This one up close shows you a lot of the circles he calls these discs. They're not CDs, but they certainly remind us of them. But again, look at the colors, the use of pattern. This is what his work looks like in a gallery. And I like to show students as many real life examples of students' art. And we talk about the scale and look how big those are. This one again is based on kites, but you will see some hexagons hiding in there. If you look down, especially towards the bottom, maybe about I don't know, quarter of the way up, eighth of the way up, you'll see some hexagons hiding in there. This again, a lot of hexagons, and you'll see how the overlapping really is effective here. This was a cool image to show them of people in a gallery, and one of Jacob Hashimoto's favorite things is to have people walk through the gallery to experience what it feels like to be in that space. This is another one he calls his clouds, and the movement that's created from the wire that's holding them. So this project is based on using the shape tools in Google Draw to create 3 different designs. Students save each one as their separate PNG files. Then we open up a Google slide and I show them how to add them and how to copy them and change the coloring and overlap. And this is one of my examples. These are great to share on the Jamboard site, and we'll have like a class mural of everybody's hexagons. All right, so let's get started on how we actually are going to make these. All right, so here we go. This is one of mine. And the best way to start this again is to open up a new Google Draw file. So you'll go to File, New, and Drawing, or the other ways I mentioned earlier in my presentation today. Okay, so we're going with shapes. So underneath Format is the Shape tool. And since Jacob Hashimoto loves using hexagons, we can use the Hexagon tool. So when you open the Shape menu, if you go down to the second row, go all the way over, and this is kind of easy because they have them numbered for you. So you can talk about how many sides does a hexagon have? 6. So let's grab that. And here you go. You're going to have a plus sign. There's your hexagon. Okay. If you want this to be, I would say, a truer hexagon, then remember what you can do, just like we were doing with the circle. Put your finger on the Shift key, press down, then draw your shape. Okay. You only need one of these. Okay. So I'll get rid of that, bring this one over. Okay, so number 1 is this time you may want to use the border as part of the design. So he likes all different colors. So I'm going to just pick yellow, pick a border color. You can talk about complementary colors here. You can talk about warm and cool colors here. Really anything is going to work. So I'm going to go with blue. Let's go to the border weight. Let's change that. I'm going to go, I'm going to make it bigger than 4. 16. Ah, yes, I like that. Okay. Now, the designs inside, keep using the shape tool. So here's a trick. Click the shape you just made. We're going to copy and paste it. You have 2 choices. One, once it's clicked like that, you can go to Edit and you can go to Copy. But look at the shortcut. It's that little command symbol and C. Okay. Then we're going to paste it down. Look at the shortcut, the little command symbol and a V. Okay. So click the shape. I'm going to do Command C to copy it, Command V for victory to paste it. All right. If you want to scale this down, put your finger on the Shift key, grab a corner, make this smaller. It will stay the same shape of your original hexagon. What am I going to do with this? Change the colors. Maybe I make the inside white. Maybe I make the outside red. Maybe I change the line weight. So we're just experimenting here. You don't have to do hexagons all the way in. You could take a circle, put your finger on the Shift key, draw a circle. line it up. Anytime you see those red guides, that's helping you center your work. What am I going to do with the line border? I'm going to go 12. What am I going to do with the inside color? I'm going to go green. Okay, I'm going to put one more shape on there and then I'll show you how to group it. You can use call outs. We haven't used call outs yet. These are different points, 7, 8, 10, 12, 16, 24, 32. Put your finger on the shift key. Draw a shape. Okay. Now, if you want this behind the circle, click the circle first, go to Arrange, Order, Bring to Front. Take this shape. Now I can slide it back over. Otherwise, you have to undo everything and keep going back and back and back, which I've done before, but this is a little bit of a time saver. Okay, what are we going to do with this? Well, what if I make it black? That's pretty cool. What if I put one more circle in the middle? And look for those red lines. What am I going to do with that? Maybe I make it go back to my original color. Maybe I switch it and make it blue. And maybe I give the outside line yellow. And maybe I go to about 4. Okay, so there's one Hashimoto creation. So let's go to the title bar and let's save this. I'm going to call this Hex 1 because we'll have Hexagon 2, Hexagon 3, or Hashimoto 1, Hashimoto 2, Hashimoto 3. Okay, we're saving this as a PNG, not a JPEG, because we want a transparent background. Okay, so what do? You go to File, Download, PNG. I've often told students this year I need a t-shirt that says File, Download, PNG, or JPEG. I think I say that a zillion times. Okay, so where is it? It's on your computer. Click it. There it is. Okay. So you will know where those images are, and then we'll pull them together into a composition. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Maybe let's go with 5 minutes to at least create 2, and then I'll show you how we put them all together. All right, so let's say that you have all 3 of your hexagon shapes completed. This is a final composition sample that I put together to show students. I have more than 3 different ones here, but just because I was showing them during different classes. So I want to show you how to add transparency and how to copy and recolor the same shapes so that you don't have to keep making a zillion more. This is a bit of a time saver for students, and it gets across the point of Hashimoto's layers. So let me back out of here for just a minute, and I will show you how we get to that. So the first thing that you want to do is open up a Google slide. How do you get to Google Slides? Well, you can either go to your Drive, and you can go to New, and of your choices, there's Docs, there's Sheets, there's Google Slides. Okay, Google Slides, if you have not worked with it, it's the same basically as a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so you could click blank presentation. Or if you're already in Google Draw, you can go to one of your hexagons and you can go to File, you can go to New, and it will also give you that list of options for presentation. Okay, so there's my going to be final composition. So click the text box, bye-bye, click the other text box, bye-bye, and here we go. Okay, each of your hexagons, you want to save them as a PNG file. Okay, so that they don't have a background around them. You can do this after we copy and paste these main 3 in, because then I'll show you about recoloring. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is check and see if your shapes are grouped. So you click the outside shape, go to Arrange. Group is not highlighted here, it's gray. So therefore I know that mine is grouped. Okay, if it wasn't, if I click one of these shapes and I go to Arrange, you're going to see that both of them are not an option. So here's how you group. Take your cursor, scroll over all of that. It's going to highlight everything, go to Arrange and click Group. Okay, now that will travel together. So do you remember how to Command C to copy and a Command V to paste? So here you go. Command C, copy, open up your slide, Command V to paste. There's hexagon number 1. We'll resize them in a minute. Okay, Now let's go to hexagon number 2. Same thing, check and see if it's grouped. Mine is already grouped, so it's ready to go. So I'm going to click it, Command C, open up your document, Command V. Let's size that down. Take your finger, set it on the Shift key, take a corner, pull it down, 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 down. And you can play around with that more later. And bring that down, down, down. If you don't hold down the Shift key, it will distort your shape. Okay, now last one. See if it's grouped. Yes, it is. So I'm going to click it, Command C, come back over to your presentation, Command V. Okay, and let's size that down. Okay, all right, next up, let me show you how you can recolor these objects. Okay, if they are downloaded onto your computer, then you're ready to go. If they're not, what you need to do is click each one, go to File, go to Download, and then select PNG. Okay, this is the only one that will give it no background, which is what you want. So you'll click PNG, and then away it will go to your computer somewhere. Okay, I've already done that with all 3 of mine. So here's my presentation. I'm going to insert them. How do you insert an image? Well, you go to this little box that says Insert Image, click the arrow. Where are you going to find it? Mine is on my computer. Okay, so click Upload from Computer. I'm going to go to Recents, and there it is, kaboom. Okay, here is how you recolor. First of all, this has a lot of extra background around it because the PNG saved the entire page. The problem with that is if you're not careful, sometimes you move things out of order. Like you'll grab one, you'll grab them all. So what I tell students to do is, you see this blue line around it. If you go right above there, there is the Crop Image tool. Click it. Take a corner, pull this over so you can get rid of some of that background. Okay? That way you won't have so much when you're trying to move things around. And then click out of it. There you go. Okay, I'm going to click this image. Go right above it. It says Format Options. That's what you want. Click Format Options. Size and rotation, position, recolor, bing, 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 click it. Okay, click the down arrow. Bonk. These are your choices. It doesn't recolor everything individually. It recolors the whole thing. So find one that you like. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Now, do you want to make it transparent? Go to Adjustments. Go to Transparency. Okay, now this gets really cool. You can play around with the brightness. This, I mean, honestly, for me, this is a little bit of a runaway train because I can work on these forever. Okay, if you don't like your color, go back and change the color. Now, where do you want this? Do you want this in front or do you want this in back? Go to Arrange, Order, Send to Back. If you want to arrange, order, bring forward, it will bring it forward on some, but not all. So that's very fun to play with, okay? And I usually tell students, I give them a number. Like I'll say, you need to have at least 7 to 9 shapes. 3 of them must be the original ones you created, okay? You can make these tiny, again, finger on the Shift key though. There you go. Okay, let's do this one. I'm going to bring in the other ones. So upload from computer. There's my second one. Boom. Okay, let's go to recolor. Let's make this blue. Oh, look how nice. Let's make this transparent. Okay, where do I want this? It's kind of cool right there, to be perfectly honest, but let me size it down. So you can really get into some super fun designing around here, okay? Let me get my last one. Upload from computer. Now, if students don't save them as PNGs, they're going to have trouble doing this. So what I have had to do oftentimes is Go around, make sure everybody knows what they're doing. Let's see how this looks with black. That's really cool. Sometimes they're like, it's not working. It won't allow me to change the color. I'll say, well, how do you have it saved? And then we look and they don't have it saved as a PNG. Okay. So sometimes that's, you know, now you can play around with these. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit and put this back up here. Okay. And I'm going to have this even lighter. No, I'll go about like that. Okay, so there are those. Now, next up, we can add some plane shapes too. Plane shapes are super fun. So I'm gonna come up here to my circle and get a circle, finger on the shift key. Boom. Get rid of the border. You know, I mean, it's up to you if you want the border or not. Fill bucket, purple. Now let's make this transparent. Go to custom, play with the scale. There you go. Okay. So again, these are times for conversations like, when do you have enough? How much space do you want to leave around it? How much negative space? Things can go off the page. You know, really, it's up to you, but I do really want them to get familiar with the transparency tool because we use that a whole lot for other things that we're doing. Okay. Let's say that I'm all done. Last thing you do, take background. What color do you want it? It doesn't have to be black. Okay, black does look super cool, but that's up to you. Okay, all done. Give it a title. Okay, file, download, JPEG or PNG, and you're all set. So hopefully that helps you out on that one. We're going to move on in just a sec to Notans. All right, so Notan time. This is a project that I put together and taught with both my 5th and 6th grade students this year. Fantastic results, and the kids loved it. There's a lot of information that you can find online about Notan designs. I ordered a book from Amazon that I used just to really share with students, but I tell them that the word Notan originated in Japan, and it means the balance between light and dark. I talked to them about how designs can be asymmetrical or symmetrical. All right, so let's get our feet wet with Notan designs. This is really just black and white. These are shapes, the line tool, the scribble tool, and your imagination. So here is how I start this. I begin by showing them this and I say, all right, let's identify some of the common shapes that we see. You'll see triangles. Do they look like triangles you normally draw? Some, but some are very skinny. Look at the rectangles, very, very narrow bars and stripes almost. Curve line, scribble tool. Okay, so here's how we start that. You know a lot of this now. You're already experts. File, new, drawing. Okay, take the shape tool, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a square. So remember how you do that? Shapes, rectangle. When you click the rectangle shape, remember that you want to put your finger on the shift key and then draw a square. Okay, what color is the center square? It is black. I'm looking for these red lines. It's a good way for you to line up your page so you have enough space around it. Get rid of the border color. Let's use the fill bucket and make it black. Okay, all right, let's go with the shape. You choose the shape. I avoid the smiley face, the hearts, those kinds of things. They're a little cutesy for me. So I'm going to draw this bar shape and I'm going to move it, boom, right to that edge. It's on the inside, folks. What color is it? White. Okay. We're going to do a copy and we're going to do a paste. Because it's the same shape on both ends, we do not need to flip it. We're just going to fill it black and then we're going to move it to the outside, boom, and line it up. It's really as easy as that. Okay. I'm going to make another bar shape. I'm going to take this shape, I'm going to copy it, Command C, Command V, and paste it. I'm going to put it right up here. But I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this narrow. And I'm going to make this shorter. Okay, and I'm going to put another square on top of it. And what color is that square? Because it's on top of something white. Black. Okay. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to click it and go Command C, Command V. And I'm going to move this over and I'm going to put this up on top of that one. So this is how older students can make these a bit more complex. Okay, so now I've got this shape. I'm going to click the shapes that I want to group. Click, put my finger on the Shift key. Click, click. Go to Arrange, Group. We did this with your hexagons. Command C, Command V. All right, here's the problem over here though. We got to flip it. Which way are we flipping it? Let's do this. Go to Format Options, Size and Rotation. And you're going to have a choice. You can flip it horizontally. You can flip it 90 degrees. You can flip it vertically. We're flipping this horizontally. Boom. Now let's move this over. We've got to change the colors though. So let's line it up first. If you want to just barely move it, put your finger on the Shift key and then the arrow will move it at a smaller increment. Okay, so we've got to click this shape, Arrange, Order, go down to Ungroup, boom. Okay, you know those shapes are there, you just can't see them that well. So we're going to click this shape. This one is on the outside, so it's going to go black. These shapes that are black are going to go white, and this shape is going to go white. Boom. Okay, pretty cool. Nifty, eh? All right, let's come back up here. Let's try a couple of other shapes. Triangle. Now you can get narrow, wide. I like narrow. I'm going to turn this to here. I'm going to move this to this side. You want to talk to students about balance. You want to talk to them about not having everything on just one edge. Okay, it's on the inside, folks. White. Command C, Command V. Which way are we flipping it? Horizontally or vertically? Horizontally, says the crowd. We're going to turn this black, and I'm going to bring this over, and kaboom. There's another one. If you like what you've done, copy it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to group it. Click, Shift, click. Arrange or Group. Command C, Command V. I'm going to move this right down here. I'm going to take a corner, and I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to make this smaller. Okay, scoot that over. All right, there we go. Now, what else can we do? You can use all of these other tools. I mean, you can really experiment. Go to the line tool. You can use the curve line tool. The curve line tool is like this. Problem with the curve line tool is it doesn't have a very good flat edge to attach it to a outside edge of the box, but we can try it. So get rid of the border color. It's white. Okay, so we're going to move that up just a teeny bit so it touches that edge. Command C, Command V. Which way are we flipping it this time? Vertically, correct. Bring this up. Line up that point with that point below it. Paint bucket, black. Okay, make sure things are truly lined up. Sometimes kids want to flip things the opposite way. They're still attached, but they're not flipped the correct direction. Okay, let me show you polyline. Polyline here. I like polyline on hexagons because they generally give you a flat edge. Boom. What color is it? White. Yep, right there. I'm going to move this down just a teens. Now I need to slightly turn that. It's not exactly on the edge, so this kind of thing makes me a little bit crazy. Okay, now Command C, Command V. Which way are we flipping it? Vertically. What color is it? It's on the outside, black. So this is a great way to be able to still teach a no-tan design project if you don't have the ability to use the tools that are in school. Okay. For my older students, I have had more success with this. Okay, because they can make more complex shapes. And perhaps if they're a younger age, you could still have them do scissors and glue. You know, there's nothing wrong with scissors and glue by any means. Okay, I'm trying to get that to line up. There we go. Okay, so other things that you can do. You can use the scribble tool. So here's scribble, and I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to just draw a line that's going to scribble about like there. What color is it? It's on the inside. White. Do you want it that small, or do you want it to be a dash line? Look next to the line weight. I could go up to 2. You can look at these choices. Oh, the fun, the fun, the fun. Okay, so I'm going to come out of that line, and I'm going to do a Command C, Command V. Which way are we flipping it? Horizontally, they all say black. Scoot this over, and you're going to need to line it up. Bring that up. Okay. Sometimes students will want to have a theme where they're going to use that idea of scribble again. So I'm going to come over here. I'm trying to scribble carefully so that I don't go over some of my white spaces, because that can get a little bit tricky. 2, I'm going to make it white. And maybe this one I make 1, and I'm going to make it a dash. Okay, now come over here. Command C, Command V, flip it. Which way now? Vertically. Move this up so you can see what you're doing. Look at where you're going to be attaching it. What color is it? It's on the outside. It is black. Okay. Now I can do some more things here too. So I can come over here and I can go this way to there. Make this white. Come over here. Maybe I make this a wider line. Okay. Maybe I put a circle on the end of that line. Come to your shapes. So this is really just kind of experimenting to see what I can come up with. Maybe I put that right there, and I'm going to make it white. Okay, maybe I put another one right there. Okay, maybe I put another one right there. So now I've got this shape. So 1, hold down to group them, click the line, click the shape, click the shape. Come over here to arrange and group. Command C, Command V. Which way are we going? Horizontally or vertically? Horizontally. What color is it? It is black, right? So we got to come over here, black. Oops, sorry, I got to come to my line. Come to my line. And I'm going to bring this on over to the edge. And I've got to change the, oh, click the wrong thing. Just a second here. The beauty of this is we can go, bring this back over here. Okay. Oh, I skipped one right there. Let me get over here for a second. I moved the wrong one. There we go. There we go. And let's bring this one over. This one's going to line up right there. What color is this one? This one is black. There we go. I knew something was wrong. Now I've got to ungroup it for a second because these shapes were added on top. And they are going to go to black. There you go. So that's how you can do that kind of thing. When you're all done, come back and you can put more. I might put more shapes inside on top of these shapes, like I did with the bars. You know, you can come in and do, I should have done it from the beginning, but you could come over here and you could put, you know, a circle right on this end, add it up there. You could put a circle. If you can find a place to set it right on a line, you can do a circle. Move it right here and make that white. Okay, so those are some cool things you can do. When you're all done, go up here, use the rectangle shape. We're going to draw a background. Come over here, click it. You don't need to hold your finger on the shift key. We just want to cover up your design field here. And I'm going to get rid of the border. Boom. I'm going to fill bucket, white, arrange, order, send it back. Okay. And that is really it on Notans. And I tell you, the results have been really super great. Kids have enjoyed them a lot. You can give yours a name. I would call this Notan number 1. Okay. File, download, JPEG or PNG. That's it. All right, we're going to move on now to our next group of lessons. All right, what's your word? Here's a bit of pop art fun. So now we're going to get into font, color, pattern, and inserting images. Here we go. So I introduce Roy Lichtenstein and his work as a pop artist, and I show students a lot of examples of his work. We talk about comic book style. I talk about advertising, how his painting was considered disruptive because it was so different from what other artists were painting at the time. So these are the steps that I go over with students. We brainstorm words, one word that expresses a reaction to something. Then I go over the steps of how to create these. So I will provide a link to the how-to video at the end, but I'm also going to do a quick demonstration. So here we go. All right, let's get ready to create some amazing pop art projects here. I call this pop art wow. These are some student examples from this past 5th grade year. So here we go. First thing that you want to do is go to Google Draw. You know how to do this now. This is going to go quickly. Untitled drawing. You can click the box and you can name this pop art 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay. So we're going to start with the background, because if you look at this example of mine, we build from the back to the front. So the first thing that we need to do is do an image search for a dot pattern background. And then we're going to add the layers on top. So here we go. You're going to go to the search the web function, which is right next to the text box. And when you open that, we are going to search the web. Okay. So when you search the web, you can see I've already put in dot pattern background. That's a good search. Dot pattern background PNG is also a good search because you will get dots again that have a transparent background. Okay, I'm going to show you how to change the color of these. You can pick any one that you want. So just kind of go through and see what you get. I do tend to direct students and say, make sure you pick one that's just dots, not with a whole bunch of other commotion on it, spiralies or words or whatever. So I'm going to click this one up here that's this light pink one. And then I'm going to click insert. All right, so it almost fits the space. So I tell students to just drag this to the corners, and it's okay if it slightly distorts it, but you need all that space. Okay, so I talked about recoloring before. When this item is clicked and there's a blue line around it, go to Format Options, go down to where it says Recolor. We did this with the Hashimoto project. Click the box. These are some options that this one has. They're all going to have different options, but I'm going to go with this blue. Okay, so there is that. Next step, let me get back to my example here. We're going to create the shapes that go behind it, the purple shape. And for that one, if you go to the shape tool, the shape that I like to use is the one that I call the diving board shape. I know it officially has a name. Okay, so the one you're looking for is the trapezoid. It's the 5th one over under the shape tools in the 2nd row down. So I'm going to click this, and this is a diving board shape. So if you just draw this anywhere, look, this is what you get. Okay, it's going to default to light blue. I'm going to move this right in the center here. Okay, here's what we want to do. Color, right? Pop art is wild and bright and crazy colors. So I'm going to go with yellow. Okay, pick any color you want. I could go with green. It does not have to be a neon color, like a fluorescent. I mean, any color you want. Okay, let's use the border tool. It's going to be black. You can change that too if you want. I could make it red. Go to the border weight, and we're going to move all the way up to, I'll do more than that. I'll go to 12, maybe even, oh, I like 16. Okay, so here's the first step. You're going to copy and paste this around. How many times? I tell students at least 6 times, leave some space between it. You don't want it to get too crammed up. So Command C, Command V, move it over here. And I'm going to just spin this around And I'm going to bring this up. They don't have to touch in the middle because you're going to put something over that. But you do want to pull the corners so it goes all the way off the page. Okay, so that's the opening part of this. So we are going to go around the edges and make sure that we have that filled in. So here we go. All right, so now I have my 6 shapes around, and the next thing that we're going to do, again, if you refer to my example, we're going to use the call out tool, and we are going to pile up these points. Now, I will say this, sometimes students add black lines in between your colored trapezoids. So I do that sometimes. You can see some of these have them, some of them don't. That's kind of an extra. It's not hard to do. You could do that. If you want to do that, you would want to do that before we add the call outs. So anyway, next step, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take the call outs. Which call out do you want to use? The first one, the second one, some of these others, it's totally fine. I'm going to click this first one and I'm just going to draw a big shape. Okay. This makes me think of those kapow, kabam, Batman movies and old TV shows. Okay. So there's one. Now, what color do you want it? Well, how about if I go with orange? How about the border? Let's give this border some weight to it. Let's make it noticeable. We want to know it's there. What a difference that border makes, right? Okay, I'm going to copy that shape, Command C, Command V, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. This time I'm going to make this blue. Not that blue though. I'm going to go over here. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to turn this way. And I'm going to make this maybe a little bit smaller. We'll see. Okay. Maybe I turn the border color red this time. No, I'm going to stick with black. So those are conversations, again, you can have with your students. One more time, Command C, Command V. I'm going to bring this down. And I'm going to come around this way. And this one, I am going to make red inside. Okay. So there's that. Okay. Now, again, let's go back to here. Last step is to add your word. So what is your word? Wow, kapow, kabam, super, whatever your word is. Okay. So here's how you want to type your word. I go to the text box. And I'm going to just come somewhere over here. And I'm going to type wow with an exclamation point. Okay. So I tell students, type this off to the side. Now we're going to increase the size of this. So we haven't talked a lot about font yet in my art class at this point. So we're going to talk about things like visibility, readability, legibility of font. I am just clicking the point size. Okay, I'm going to give myself more and more room. I'm going to get pretty big here. Let's go to bold. Now, is there a better font for that? Can you say wow in a better way? There's one. So you can go through and take a look at these fonts and find one that you really like. I tend to like this one called Pacifico. There are other fonts, of course, and you may have special ones on your computer as well. So I'm going to put that there. What color do I want it? So again, you can talk about color. How does that font look if it's yellow? Pretty cool. How does that font look if it's green? Very hard to read. You can talk about complementary colors. Okay. Now, how did I add that shadow? If you look at this, I made a second copy of the font and I moved it behind the other. Okay. So Command C, Command V, and I'm going to turn this black and I'm going to move this behind the other. So another way to think of this is, let's move the yellow font in front. So click what you want in the front, arrange, order, bring to front. Now I can move this other one back underneath there. So this is a super easy, quick, fun way for students to experiment a little bit with pop art.